because we publish, beloved. My goodness. This is We Publish Beloved, and I have an incredible friend, colleague, and comrade here, Annell Lopez, the author of I'll Give You a Reason, a fantastic prose, poetry, memoir examination of what it means to navigate multiple identities in the current moment. So thank you for being here, and We Publish Beloved. You did it.
Thank
How
you
does
so
it
much
feel?
for inviting me. I'm so excited. It is, as you know, incredibly hard. So, I find myself in a constant state of re-celebrating because of how, uncommon it is to have the opportunity to publish a book at all. Let alone, like short stories, which we all know people will tell you they won't sell.
That's right.
But forever grateful for being here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I wanna talk to you today about what it was like for you when you realized I have a book in me. I'm gonna write this book and then all the rest of the stuff that unfolds. So tell us about your journey to becoming a published author, how that worked in terms of timing and all the different kind of steps that you came into.
Yeah, it was both a long and a short journey, right? So I think that it was something that I always wanted to do. And for a long time didn't think that I would be able to do it, didn't think that I had the skills to do it. A lot of sort of internalized doubt. Because I didn't lack the skill. But, we grow up in a world, where our identities sometimes become, a perception and that turns into a barrier.
Uh-huh.
You can't do this or this
Hmm.
sort of life. This artistic pursuit is for someone else who looks differently. So I want to
Hmm.
say that what took the longest was getting over that hurdle of saying, you know what, we come from art. We are art. Art is not in any way tied to, ethnicity, race, or even money, only in the sense that having more money allows you to pursue more art. But none of that
Hmm.
is tied to skill. It took me, all of my 20s to unlearn that. Not till I turned 30 or late 20s to 30, where I was like, I'm going to really go hard at this. So around age 30, I'm 36 now. I moved to New Orleans. I quit my job in Newark. I cashed out my New Jersey pension. I did so like
Wow.
I took some risks.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
I took a year off. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna work. I don't know how this pension thing works. I feel like I'm young enough to rebuild it. We'll see. Um, let's just
No.
take our leap. It's a while. It was just like a wild decision there. Um, yeah, I did all of that. Enrolled in an MFA. Ended up going back to work, back in a different pension system. Um, and all that goes to say, it took me a long time, but once I actually figured out that I wanted to do it seriously, it took me less time. A lot of it
Wow.
was just internally, understanding that I was talented and worth the risk.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I love that. I love that. Listen, I'm all about like chasing your dream, believing in yourself, going after your purpose. I too had a career change. I was an engineer at Disneyland for the beginning of my career.
So wild.
I know. I know. And a few years there, and I was like, "Oh, y'all racist. Like, y'all, this is a different level." And completely turned around and went back into academia, got a political science PhD, and became a professor. Like, never could have imagined this, and now I'm writing books, right? So these things were always, I think, as you said, they're in you, but sometimes it may take you a while to believe that you have a story to tell. So in terms of, like, writing your book, getting the contract, how did you transition from being in an MFA program to then, I'm now sitting down with an agent and sitting down with a publisher and thinking about what this book will become?
Yeah, it was so wild because I sold it before I finished the MFA. And by sold, I mean I won the prize for it. So which was, it was a lot, and but I was serious about it, and I think I was making up for, like I said before, years of self-doubt. So when I was doing the MFA,
Mm.
I was like, I know this work is good. I'm sending it out to magazines. It's really hard to get stories out there published by any journals, and they're getting picked up. And when I'm told no, I'm told why, or I can see that people feel that there's something there. So I owed it to myself to just keep going. So
Mm.
around, I want to say my MFA was 3 years. Around a year and a half into it, I finished the book, which would then become my
Mm.
thesis. And I thought, I like the MFA, and obviously I learned a lot, but I was just really feeling like I just owed it to myself to take this risk. Like, what's somebody's gonna say no to me? Like, I've left a whole state and like a whole job. Like,
Mhm.
why? And who's whatever. Somebody says no, I don't care. So, yeah, I sent it out to a prize from the feminist press, and I, ended up winning the prize. Um was really competitive, and had somewhat of a backwards trajectory where I got the agent after the prize.
Wow.
So
Ah,
I mean, I
I don't know,
tried
I just
shop
love it.
I tried shopping it in a more traditional way, but a lot of people were like, this is great, it just, do you have a novel? And I could sort of see that hesitation, and to me the time was now, so I figured out another way.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I think that's really dope. So, when you think about that process, so going through, so I totally get the going in reverse, getting an agent after the thing happens. I totally understand that. So how did you decide? How did you? Because at that point you already have the prize, you already have a guarantee this is going to be published. How did you decide then who to work with? Because you didn't really need them to make those introductions for you or to help you get entree into the publishing world. You already were there.
Yeah, when the announcement of the prize came out, I had, for the first time, agents were reaching out to me. Before that, I've
Mm,
been sending the book out to people,
yeah.
waiting, being told, this is great, but do you have a novel? So the prize changed everything, where I was like, interesting. I can see the attention sort of, shifting, where it's like I'm
Mhm,
being pursued. And so,
mhm.
like any person being pursued, there is a great sense of power that comes from that. And if
Yeah,
you are, in the moment enough, you can take advantage of that.
that's
So
right.
I spoke to many different agents, met them at AWP. Um, they took me out for coffee, drinks, etc. I ended up choosing my agent because I sent her the manuscript of what is, my collection,
Yeah.
which had won the prize, and she had read it in maybe a day or two, and came back to me with like so much, you know, genuine reactions of how she connected with the work. And at that point, it meant a lot to me, because it's like she's not representing this book. This book has already been sold. She's not getting anything. So this is
Mhm,
someone who
mhm,
is rocking with my writing, and
mhm,
the future writing that I will produce. And that meant a lot. And
mhm.
so that's why, yeah, I chose her.
You know what's hella funny? Like, I did not plan this before the episode, but that is so for the listeners and viewers, we had the same agent. Amy Bishop
Oh, the
Weisick, who
same
is at Trellis
agent.
Literary, is our agent. And what's so funny is that that's the exact same story I have. Like I had already met with the publisher. I had a person who enjoyed my writing from Teen Vogue and was like, "Hey, you should write a book." And I was like, "Oh." And then they moved to Penguin Random House, and they were like, "We're waiting on this book." So I already had interest from a publisher and I had to go backward and get an agent. And I was originally agented with someone else. And it was just, it was not a great experience. I'll just say it like that. It didn't feel like this person actually genuinely cared about me as a writer or about the stories I wanted to tell. But when I met Amy, I was like, oh, hold on a minute. I was like, oh, I like you. Like,
Yeah,
she has a
yeah.
certain energy. She cares about the work. She cares about you as a creative. And like you said, she's interested in the future stories that you want to tell. So I feel like
That
that's one of
really
the
Yes, that was really it for me. And, when I did that whole went to the AWP, my first AWP at the time, and Feminist Press paid for the trip,
Mm,
which I was so grateful for. I got to meet with all these agents. They were all great people. They had read the work,
mhm.
and I was really it was it was both an easy and a hard decision to make. So I was like, what if I'm not making the right decision? I'm just like going off of
Yeah,
vibes. And I was talking about it with my best friend, and she was like, this person has a lot of enthusiasm for, again, just like your writing, and is a fan of
yeah,
your writing,
yeah,
knows that you write. And I felt like, that's what I wish other people had seen, where it's like, I understand with all the rejections that I got before that point, it's like you're too focused on, is a collection about immigrants going to be the most sellable? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But then are you interested in not just this one product, or are you interested in the relationship that you can build with me
right,
as,
right,
as a professional, as an artist? And
right.
it felt to me that Amy was very much understanding, since she would have nothing in terms of,
That's right.
the production of this book, was in it for, yeah, for the writing itself, outside of the individual stories that exist in this work. And
That's real. That's real. That's real. I
it's what
mean,
we want.
I think yeah, I mean, your story to me is one of those things where they say, "Go where you're wanted, go where people are enthusiastic about you." You found a press
100%.
that was enthusiastic, they put you in the right places, in front of the right people, and you found an agent who was just as enthusiastic. If I can't say anything else to, like, first-time writers enough, is that. It's like, don't try and force fit yourself somewhere. Don't try and make someone like your book. Like, just go where people already want you there, and that's, to me, huge, right? Huge. It eases the process so much. So were there any surprises that you encountered along the way that you just were like, "Oh, I didn't even know that."
I mean, a lot of it was surprising. It was such an interesting and kind of unique experience. Like, I was editing the book at the same time that I was editing his thesis form to defend it, which felt funny because I'm defending something that I have absolutely already sold. But I will defend this. I will defend this for sure.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to sort of balance the feedback and everything. In terms of the publishing world, well, you the work writing seems to be the easiest. There's the,
Mhm.
okay, you're putting a book out there, and now a lot of the marketing and publicity for this book, or I should rather say publicity for this book, not so much marketing, is going to really fall
Mhm.
on a lot of your
Mhm.
individual efforts. And that part, I was
That's
like,
right.
oh God, what do you
That's
mean I
right.
still have to work for this book? I've already done all the
That's right.
labor of writing it. Can I just And it's like, nope, you can't. There's so
No.
much work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that part was a lesson, which I'm
So did you go
grateful.
to actual book tour? Did you have book tour stops, or how did you plan that?
I did. I work with Feminist Press, and they were just really kind and beautiful people to me, like, I talked about the places that I wanted to go. So I had a great tour. I did my big release here in New Orleans, had a sold out event of like 120 people, with Maurice
That's
Carlos
right.
Ruffin. It was beautiful. My
Okay.
One of my local bookstores, it was like, honestly, it was like, you know it felt like people in so many ways had watched me work really hard at this, and came and showed up when the time was there. My
Yeah.
community, friends, my local bookstore, these people worked hard. They like chose a
Mm.
place. It was like a wine event. Like, they curated things. Like, they were just like, they went above and beyond for me, and gave me the best release that I could have ever hoped for. It was truly magical. And yeah, my press helped me out with some other events, following up with bookstores. Everybody was really involved. I did an event in Brooklyn, had
Mm.
an event in DC, in Jersey, in New Orleans. another New York event. I did a few stops along the way,
Yeah,
in the Northeast near New Orleans, and it was great. It was great.
I love that. I love that. So if there's one thing you could think about that you could say, this is the thing I wish I knew before embarking on this journey, not even just the book tour, but all the way back to writing and submitting for a prize and going through all that. What would be the one thing that you're like, I wish I knew this?
I wish I knew
Wish
that
I did.
the process itself requires a lot of stamina, and it's not, like once I had already edited this book, which I knew that process was coming. I had already edited essays or short stories for other publications. But I think that, you go on tour and you go to a lot of places. If you're someone who has a regular job, there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of work to balance your own energy level when it comes to being able to keep up with everything, like you're going around,
Uh-huh.
you're in conversation with people, you may be
Uh-huh.
writing companion pieces, essays,
Yeah.
listicles to support the promotion of this book. That is
That's
so
right.
much work. I wish I had prepared some of those things ahead of time, or I wished I
Mhm.
had sort of, conserve energy with things that wouldn't, yield results. That took up a lot of effort, but they maybe didn't give me back what I needed in terms of, the
Yeah.
results. I think that
Yeah.
that part, we could talk more about in terms of just this industry. It's like,
Mhm.
save your energy for those first few months. Like, you're gonna do so much work. Interviews take up work, time,
They
and
do.
you want them.
They
You're
do.
grateful. You're grateful that someone wants to
That's
speak to
right.
you. Um, but that is also, that involves labor on their
Yeah.
part because they're taking the
Yeah.
time to questions together, and also time and effort on your end to answer them. Um,
Yeah.
you want as many of them as possible.
Yes, you do.
uh, you gotta budget your energy and time for that.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely true. I think that's probably where I would land too. Like, I did not realize how grueling it would be after the book was out. Like, "Oh, oh, you still need me here?" I'm an introvert, so for me, I was like, "Oh, I just wanna go home now. I would like to lay down." And they're like, "No, you have to go hop on this train in this place you've never been before in rural South Carolina." And you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay." So, no, I completely agree. So
yeah.
so then thinking about that then, if there was something you could change, if there's something you could say, "I would love to make this different," what would it be?
I think I would have loved to known the promotional work and what that would have entailed ahead of time. I think that
Mm,
to anyone who's going in at first, like, please understand the promotional work that it takes to bring attention to the book on your end as a writer is grueling. And if you can prepare, I don't know if you're going to submit essays or listicles or like reading lists or any of that stuff, try and do as much of it before,
mhm.
and rest. I think that there's a lot of preparation for that side of the business that we just don't learn. I
That's
mean,
right.
I don't teach you that in grad school, which is insane, but
Yeah.
it's like we're not really learn that. It's just how
Yeah.
much it takes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I also I think that there's something else here about the fact that you and I both sit at multiple margins of identity simultaneously, and our work, each of us have written about people who have unique identities, right? In your case, you're thinking about Afro Latin folks who are undocumented and have this relationship to the state, but also have these beautiful relationships to one another. And I guess I want to know, in writing that kind of story, do you think there were some unique ways that the publishing world may have confronted the story, but also like making space for the book at all?
Yeah, I think that, thinking of when I was sending out the manuscript to agents and that reception being, somewhat tepid in terms
Mm,
of the marketability of a book like this, or short stories
mhm,
in general, and sort of the emphasis in wanting to have a novel. I think that that
mhm.
felt to me, it communicated that the space for this book, it's one that I was gonna have to fight for.
That's right.
I'm really grateful for, a publisher such as Feminist Press, whose mission is to publish works like that, and whose track record publishes work like that. And the Louise Meriwether Prize, which, is honors Louise Meriwether. So like I got lucky in the sense that I found, similar to what you were saying earlier, which really resonated with me. You go where you're wanted. Um,
Yeah.
and you'll flourish from that far more
Yeah.
than if you try to fit into something that isn't quite it, right? And I think that, it's a hard lesson to learn. But I think that there was the right publisher for the book and it ended up in the right hands because there is the market for
Yeah.
the book, right?
Yeah.
There is the space for the book and more even, there is the need for the book. But it takes knowing that if it doesn't quite fit into a place, you've got to be able to pivot and choose something else.
Yeah.
Um, and roll with that. And, you can, um, I'm gonna quote Pearl Jam out of old musical play bands and artists, but there is a song by Pearl Jam. There's a quote that's crazy, I know. There's a quote that says, there's a line in a song that says, "The smallest oceans make big waves." Like big
Oh,
waves. And it's a line that is always,
yeah.
like the smallest oceans. Like you can't, you have to understand, even
Yeah.
at a different scale, there is the ability to, you know, to do a lot, to have an impact.
Yeah.
And so I latch on to those words and I latch on to the sentiment that you said where you go where you're wanted. Because
Yeah.
you can grow from there. You can grow in unexpected ways.
Yeah. I love that. Child Pearl Jam. Listen, I don't know what song that is, but it sounds beautiful. I never heard
Um,
this song before.
I'm blanking out on the actual song. But yes, I love that line. Yeah.
I love that. So, is there anything else you would like first time Black and queer writers to know about this journey? Like, what nugget can you leave them with?
Um, don't shrink. The right space will come for you. You will find the right space. Do not shrink. Do not shrink at all. Um, don't shrink. Don't, mold differently. Um, Sometimes it just takes time. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
sometimes in the pursuit of something that we desire, we can just become desperate and either settle or fit uncomfortably. No, we don't need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes away from the art, right? Like, we don't want to make mediocre art. So I'm proud of you. I'm
Thank
grateful
you.
that you're here, and I'm excited to see you very shortly in 2 weeks at the Pen America Awards.
Yes.
So, not
Yeah.
sure yet when this episode will air. So it may have a different kind of summary underneath, depending on what happens there. So I'm proud of you and your work, and I'm so grateful for this book. I'll give you a
Thank you
reason. Thank you so
so
much for
much.
writing it.
Thank you so much.
And
I
we
really
published
appreciate you having
Beloved.
me. Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Yes, we are.
Hold on. Yes. So congratulations and just keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that coming from you. Um,
Absolutely.
Thank you for this.